President Biden is spending the day in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 100 years after the 1921 massacre there killed as many as 300 black people and injured many more. Mr. Biden is the first U.S. president to honor the victims of the Greenwood district. The attack by a white mob was largely covered up for decades. President Biden is meeting with the last known survivors of the attack. He is also unveiling initiatives to build black wealth and narrow the racial wealth gap. The actions will include using the federal government's purchasing power to grow contracting with small, disadvantaged businesses, new fair housing rules to combat racial inequality, and a $10 billion community revitalization fund aimed at supporting underdeveloped communities like Greenwood, where the massacre took place. For more on all of this, let's bring in Isaac Boltansky, the Director of Policy Research for Compass Point Research and Trading. Isaac, welcome. Great to have you with us. So what do you make of these specific initiatives the president is expected to announce to address the wealth gap? What impact could they have? And can you also address the fact that relieving student debt is not being included in this plan? A lot of people think that it should have been.
Yeah, so first, thank you for having me. Second, I think that we have to clearly state that there is a problem. The Federal Reserve has found that on average, Black American families have 13 cents of wealth for every $1 that a white family will have. That figure is about 19 cents on the dollar for the average Latino family. So first, there is a clear issue here that we're talking about. Second is, I think that we have to agree that there isn't a single reason for this wealth gap, which leads us to believe that there isn't a single panacea from a policy perspective either. So the things that the president is announcing today are meaningful and directionally positive, but there isn't any single policy that could fix what is a history of systemic racism that has undoubtedly impacted this wealth gap from home ownership to student loan debt on down. In terms of your specific question, I think that there was some surprise in the consumer and racial advocacy corners that student loan debt wasn't touched at all. Student loan debt can contribute up to a quarter of that racial wealth gap for folks in the 30 to 35-year-old age cohort. And so there was some real surprise that it wasn't touched at all today. But I think that we have to expect that the president's going to revisit student loan debt shortly after the Department of Justice finishes a review that he requested just a few weeks ago.
Right. Good point. All right. So let's dig into some of the steps that are in President Biden's plan to address discrimination and bias in the housing market, for instance. Why is home ownership specifically an issue when it comes to wealth? I mean, this is the way American families have built generational wealth, a lot of them, isn't it?
It is. Home ownership is, without a doubt, one of the cleanest and clearest mechanisms for wealth generation and intergenerational wealth generation that we have. Now, we can argue whether that's good or bad, as evidenced by some recent crises, but it is undeniably an area of wealth generation. And there's some real problems here. It's been proven that there is a racial bias within the structure of our home appraisal process. And this is why I think one of the most important things that the White House is announcing today is this interagency working group that is focused on trying to look at that racial appraisal gap, which has actually doubled based on recent findings since 1980, when many of the fair lending laws really kicked in. And so this is something where I know it's not as headline grabbing, but this appraisal gap has real impact on how much folks can sell their homes for, the overall generation of wealth, and that intergenerational growth that I think is so important here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, headline grabbing or not, it's a really crucial piece of the puzzle. Now, President Biden's plan also uses the government's purchasing power to drive an additional $100 billion to small, disadvantaged business owners. Give us an example of what this might look like and what impact could this have?
Yeah, so I think first we've got to keep in mind that this is over 5 years. So it's $100 billion, which is a big number, but it's over 5 years. And the federal contracting process is already incredibly cumbersome and takes some time. So my first point is I think that this is going to take some time to see the policy turn into reality for some of these contractors. But right now, only 10% of eligible federal contracts go to these quote unquote small disadvantaged businesses, which there are numerous definitions, but by and large, we should assume that most Black and Latino businesses would qualify under this definition. So only 10% of the federal contracts are going to businesses under this heading. There is a real chance that we will move the ball forward and see that 10% figure move higher. I have to caution Tanya that it takes time. Everything in DC takes time, and it's an important step, but it's a multi-year step that is just beginning.
So of all of these policies, which do you think will have the most immediate effect? The housing policy? I mean, it sounds like when it comes to the contracting, that of course not only takes time for the funds to be absorbed by these businesses, it takes time for the businesses to actually be able to build on that. So that could be like a decade out, right, before we see any real progress there.
Yeah, so look, I think that there are also other elements of this proposal that are components of the president's American Jobs Plan, which Congress is going to be debating in the weeks ahead that we will be following. There are upwards of $20 billion in direct grants that could go to local communities if Congress approves it. But for my money, I really think that the changes to home appraisals will have a lasting impact and one that we could start to see quickly here. If they shift the way that they do these valuations, which are generally on comps in the same neighborhood, which therefore represent a legacy of racial bias, and we can change that mechanism, I think that we can have a more inclusive housing economy. And as we've seen during this pandemic, housing has been such an important part of our economy, and making sure that we root out those racial biases within that corner of our economy is vitally important.
Huge impact. All right, well, Isaac Boltansky, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.